Alright, this is a little tutorial on how I paint and weather my helmets. As you can see here, I've got the two helmets and the assorted little pieces. I'll start out with saying there are a couple of assumptions I make during my painting process, but I'll try to let you know what those are. One is that you've already done all the body work, the Bondo, the prep, and the helmets are primed, and I start the tutorial from there. And I won't make or at least I'll try not to make any kind of skill level assumptions, and I'll talk you through what I'm doing. So, what I've got here is the basic parts for the helmet, and they're already primered. They're ready to go for their first coat of paint. And the first coat that I'm going to be putting on is going to be this Rust-Oleum metallic. It's called a brilliant metal finish. It's not really what I call brilliant, like chrome, but it is metallic. And the most important thing about this particular paint that I've found is that I can put a clear coat over it, and it still looks metallic. And that becomes really important when you get onto the later stages of how I do it. One other thing, this is Charlie's way of weathering a helmet. This is not the correct way, the right way, it's certainly not the only way. This is just how I do it. If you can come up with ways to improve on what I can do, do it. If you think what I do is great, feel free to use the information. If you think I'm crazy, then don't tell me, because I only like hearing nice things about myself. So, but we'll set this down, make sure you can see. Yeah, that's good. Now, one of the things that I do that's really important, and that a lot of people mess up on, make sure you shake up the paint. I've already shaken it up some. The other thing is, don't use long bursts, and don't get too close. With this stuff, it's a little forgiving because of the type of paint it is. Sometimes, depending on what you're doing, it's not so good. The other thing is, I also like to use latex gloves because one, it keeps paint off my hands as much as I can, and the other thing is that if you do have to touch the helmet while you're prepping it, you don't want to have any oils or anything like that on the helmet. One thing I've done with these is I've wiped them down with an alcohol rub, let that dry just to make sure there's nothing on the helmet, and I've given them a little while sitting outside here so that they've acclimated to the temperature. Now for actually spraying, I just use short bursts. I'm going to go around the helmet. You don't have to hit everything at once, right? The last thing you want to do is put it on too thick so that it runs. I'm trying to stay a good distance away and just cover the helmet. Now, you'll notice I've got my helmets on helmet stands. That's so that it makes it easy for me to come up underneath at an angle and try to hit all the important parts. One other thing that I like to do is kind of give it a little bit of dry time. Not a whole lot, just a couple seconds between the layers that I go through. So I've hit the front part of this helmet here. I'll move on to this section, come around in a circle. And you see, just kind of stand back. Don't get heavy with the spray. That's the worst thing you can do, is get heavy with the spray, because then it'll run, it'll come out, it'll be messy. Give this a little bit more hit. Quick, short bursts. Alright, since the next step of the process is just going to be me doing that a whole lot, I'll go ahead and stop the film now. But same basic technique is going to be used on all this, round and round, until I get a nice shiny metallic finish, and I'll show you what that looks like.